fighting is far from over.
Not for this exercise.
Welcome to Back of the Rack, a gaming videocast about games long neglected and not respected, games that everyone's heard of or hated, or no one's heard of and loved. We play the games in between the essentials and the unwanted, but mostly, we play what we want on this podcast. Join our Discord where you can talk with us and others about Back of the Rack games, and make sure to like and comment on our videos and leave good reviews on the podcast feeds. Your feedback and engagement is the fuel that keeps us going. We hope everyone watching and listening is doing great, and we thank you for joining us today on another episode. Starting off, we will introduce this month's game with a scripted segment giving you all the details, and then we will go into our unscripted thoughts about the game shortly afterwards. I'm Sondi, and with me always is Bendezzer. So without further ado, enjoy.
Off the coast of the Bermuda Triangle, Nina Williams, a renowned fighter and assassin, is hired to infiltrate the terrorist organization Cometa to unearth their dastardly plans. By joining the underground fighting tournament hosted by the group, Nina makes easy work of the competition, only for her cover to be blown upon winning. Now locked in a cabin on the cruise ship called the Amphitrite, Nina must fight, sneak, and uncover what Cometa is planning. With the help of an imprisoned scientist and other hired CIA and MI6 agents, Nina takes on the three heads of Cometa: Bryce Adams, an eccentric poet with an itchy trigger finger; Lana Ley, the poisonous and cunning mistress; and Enrique Ortega, the hot-headed swordmaster. Why is the Tekken Force involved? What does the Mishima Zaibatsu have to do with this infamous organization? It's up to Nina to find out and put an end to their world-ending plan. Created in celebration of Namco's 50th anniversary, Death by Degrees is a genre-bending spin-off set in the world of Tekken. With most of the Tekken team helping to create the title, the femme fatale Nina was chosen due to her popularity. Death by Degrees is a play on words describing the main control scheme. Players control Nina's iconic fighting style with the right analog stick. Flicking the stick in the direction of an enemy will have Nina do a myriad of attacks depending on distance and the pressure of the analog movement. By moving the analog stick in the direction of an attack, Nina will block or parry depending on the timing. This same control scheme applies to the left stick, allowing for the player to dodge and jump around enemies to get a better vantage point. One of the unique features is the critical attack mechanic. Pressing L2 will have Nina go into a first-person camera showing the enemy's X-ray. In this moment, Nina can target weakened body parts to do sinister finishers that break the targeted limbs. Utilizing critical attacks to slow down faster enemies by breaking their legs or disarming goons by dislocating their shoulders is paramount to surviving the crowded altercations. Multiple enemies at once is a common occurrence in Death by Degrees, and to help even the odds, weapons are a pivotal factor. You can find weapons stored in caches or looted from defeated enemies. These weapons are finite, but each has a unique moveset that allows for more brevity in combat. Nina gains experience from combat that she can use to learn new combos or buff her capabilities with either melee or ranged weaponry. Players will explore the cruise ship's Metroidvania-esque hallways to find key cards, shortcuts, and other hidden areas while trying to complete their main mission. There are hidden weapon caches locked behind grid puzzles that can yield helpful items for Nina. There are also several mini-games that diversify the gameplay, including a sniper mode and flying a mini-drone called the Stingray.
You awake?
Morning.
This non-canon spin-off does leave a legacy worth noting. Death by Degrees has been referenced in the mainline games. In Tekken 6, Nina and Anna's alternate costumes are their Death by Degrees costumes. In Tekken 8, Nina's moveset has been revamped to include a lot of Death by Degrees gameplay, with her use of dual pistols and her rage art looking similar to her critical strike attack. As this game is an expansion of the Tekken Force mode introduced in 3, Tekken 5 and 6 both take highlights from Death by Degrees and expands on those ideas for both Jin and Lars, respectively. Death by Degrees was released to mixed reviews. Critics panned the limiting controls, unreasonably long loading times, and disorienting camera angles. Game Informer crowned it the 10th worst game of 2005. Through the years, the game has amassed a cult following with die-hard Tekken fans. With its quirky control scheme and unfavorable critical reception, Death by Degrees failed to find mass appeal like Namco anticipated. Drifting into obscurity and becoming mostly forgotten, Death by Degrees deserves a second chance in the spotlight, making it perfect for Back of the Rack.
What now?
I don't have a clue. They must have left it behind.
Okay, so let's take a look at our thought table where we cover presentation, story, and gameplay. I'll go first here with my thoughts for the game's visual look and all the the way it's presented. So, character models and animation. I sort of broke it down a little bit differently this time because I kind of had a lot to say in small parts for different aspects. First off, I think it was clear to me that they definitely put a lot of money in this game.
That's true.
I feel like it looked like I was like, okay, like it's not like they weren't cheaping out on for it being like a, spin-off or anything like that. Because it was their 50th anniversary or some shit like that. They were celebrating a milestone with this game.
Yes, it was a 50th anniversary. And not to speculate, but during this time as well, too, the Tekken movie was announced. And this started like the development hell of the Tekken movie that didn't come out until years later, but it was supposed to come out for the 50th anniversary as well. So this is kind of like a culmination of trying to push Tekken into the mainstream zeitgeist at the time.
Yeah. From what I understand, too, well, let me just preface, I am not a huge Tekken fan. Like, if we're talking about, like, the big... what are the big three in terms of fighting games? Is that Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, I would say that. Because all of those have had their place in, like, solidifying the genre as well as just gaming in general. Yeah.
I would say that Tekken has always been my personal least favorite, I guess, I would say. Not that I hate it, but I just, like, have never been into the... Oh, I guess my Tekken would be Soul Calibur because it's somewhat similar, I guess.
Tekken with swords, yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Same team, everything.
Yeah, so I fuck with that. I like the world more. I think the characters are a bit more fun. I did watch the Tekken lore videos. I watched one of those a couple weeks
like
back.
that 2-hour-long video explaining all the crazy stuff that goes on.
Yeah, and I was like, what the fuck? But anyway,
it's deeper.
Yeah, so Nina was obviously chosen for her own game because she was apparently the most popular character, which was surprising to me. I was like, oh, really? She was the most...
Yeah.
She
was a sex symbol at the time.
Yeah.
Her, Laura Croft.
That's right. That makes sense. I feel like that tracks. But yeah, her character model and her animations are all just realistic and weighty. Like her combat moves and all that. There's a lot of them, and they all look really good. She has a lot of animations for opening different doors and hatches, and like scanning panels. So many sometimes where I was like, wow, they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to animate like all these little things, but they did, which I felt like gave her a bit more. I don't know, it was just nice, and then I felt too that her character model in game, like in the cutscenes especially, I don't know if you noticed this, but she was ugly as fuck.
Yeah, her face was crazy. I don't know what was going on with that.
I'm like, that's not and if you look at her character in-game model when you're just like walking around, if you like zoom in or like like move the camera, it's different and it looks better there. But I think the cutscene like just version is so like it's not right.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look right. Which is different than the CG cutscenes, which were obviously she looks, I guess, the most accurate or the best, whatever.
Yeah, I guess they were trying to go for like a grungy, like a dirty look, I guess, kind of sort of. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, dude.
There's a lot of sweat involved in the CGI cutscenes and water particles and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe that's what they were trying to do with it. But I mean, to be fair, they look nothing like their Tekken counterparts, which is weird, especially considering Tekken 5 the demo is bundled with this game.
Right. Yeah. It's using a different engine entirely, I would imagine, than Tekken.
I believe so. Right. And then also looking at the posters, because there's little cameos of other Tekken characters and like posters and other things around the way, and none of the characters look like their Tekken counterparts, which is weird. Like there's even like a I can't even speak, a picture of Jin from Tekken 4. Like it's like literally the box art of Tekken 4 for the King of Iron Fist tournament, and it looks nothing like the normal box art. Like it's just weird inconsistencies like that. That's weird. I don't know. It just once you notice it, you can't not notice it, I guess.
They did say too that it was like basically, I mean, it's not canon, this game.
Yes.
Like it's doing its own thing entirely, and which is, I don't know if that was after the script was written or if that was stated before, because if they're saying it's non-canon after the game was like out there in the wild and they're like, oh yeah, like it's not canon, because it was so bad, or if it was already like initially like from the development or pre-development, they were like, okay, this is non-canon, because I did feel like that aspect might have affected what they did in the story, which we'll get to later, but it does feel like they could have done way more interesting shit if it was non-canon. Like they stuck to like this sort of like we'll get into the story later, but it's, I don't know, it just makes me think about her being like a fan favorite and then them making this non-canon, and just like, well then what's the point? What's the investment? Right? What's the investment?
What is the story really here for? What are we trying to do here?
Nothing. Let me tell you, they didn't do anything. Yeah. So yeah, her character model was good. Animations, I loved them, and I want to say that I really liked this detail in games, but her costume getting shredded over time.
It's so cool.
There's two aspects to it. I feel like obviously it's like a sex appeal thing, but also it just adds a little bit of realism and just makes her appear weathered. There's only two games I know that do that. Batman Arkham Asylum. Batman gets his whole suit and everything gets tattered. His cape rips as you progress, which I always thought was cool, right? Because it just feels like it's all happening in like one night, and
like
I don't know.
It shows that he's been going through a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and then the third birthday, Parasite Eve, her clothes get torn to shreds as like her health depletes and stuff, which is, I thought, a really, really cool thing. But yeah, do you know any of any other games that do like this, like the costume shredding? Yeah, over time, because I know there's some that just like do it.
Like if you get hurt enough, yeah. Like I know, like Naruto game, like the Ultimate Ninja Storm games, the Budokai games.
They get like dirty and shit.
Yeah, but nothing I can think of. Nah. Yeah, I was gonna say Dragon's Dogma, but nah.
I don't know.
I think this is like one of those games. Because even then, I thought it was me. Like I was like, am I just getting beat up a lot and my clothes are getting tattered? The whole time it's like specific story beats that like your clothes get tattered up.
Either way, I think it's a cool little like visual feature that.
What did you think of the enemy designs?
What, the soldiers? Just the soldiers.
I mean,
the lack of designs.
Well, I guess like also the three generals, like the three main heads of the army or whatever that you fight. Like, what did you think of their designs and sensibilities and stuff like that?
So you're talking about what, Enrique?
Yeah, the Dennis Rodman nigga.
Lana, and then
Benedict del Toro.
Anna? Yeah, Benicio del Toro. Yeah. I was like, did they model him?
Right.
Like, did he play? I actually had to look it up. I'm like, did he play him, or is this like a? It was very specific.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a very particular face that he has, and he doesn't act or sound anything like that, and it always throws me off every time he talks. Because why is he a swordsman, but he's a Peruvian
super
swordsman?
Weird. Yeah. I don't know. I just felt like they just felt like 2000s. Like, you've seen the Mission Impossible movies, right?
Yes, I know where you're going with this. Where they feel like generic, just movie like story beat bad guys.
Yeah, like there wasn't too much intention behind the design. Yeah, they just didn't feel. They didn't stand out, but they also weren't terrible at the same time. And then think about Lucas, right? Lucas also just like the only nigga, like he just looked normal.
Bro, he looked like Gunna, bro.
Yeah, he did.
Like skinny Gunna.
Yeah, he had that face for sure.
Yeah. I guess see, it's tricky for me when it comes to presentation. That's why I've been letting you riff off, because for me, presentation is very weak in this game. Other than, of course, the CGI cutscenes being like superb. I felt like the camera was fighting itself a lot. There's a lot of camera cuts, like too many for my comfort, especially once you have like, because it has that same second sight feature where, oh, you can use the fixed camera perspectives, or you can go into the regular third person camera, and it's a weird design choice to have it to where the run button is the same as the change camera button. So anytime you change camera and you just want to take a look around and see your surroundings, you're now running around everywhere too, and it throws me off a lot when it comes to the game, especially when you have bad sound design and the pause menu. So the pause menu is probably the most encumbering thing, because it pauses, then it loads the pause menu, then it restarts the music, then you got to go and find the map. Then you're like, okay, this is where I'm at because the camera's got me confused. I don't know where I'm at. I'm all turned around. Then you exit out. There's another loading screen, and the music. It's a very annoying loop. You can understand after 15 hours of gameplay of not knowing where the fuck you're going because of the camera cuts, pausing the game, having long ass loading screens to get to the map to see where you're going, unpausing to get very sound grating. It's like the opening of the sound of the song that they played during the cruise ship is very annoying the way it starts out. Once it builds up, it's pretty good, but it's very annoying at the start of it all.
You talking about like are you talking about the rock song, like the?
No, not the song,
like
when
the main theme. Okay.
Like battle starts, but like the like the. It's, you'll notice it, but like once you press start, the song restarts, and then when you unpause, the song restarts again, and it's like a weird it's like a 2000s spy. It's almost porny, kind of, sort of. Where it's not, it's like too generic. Where it's like, oh, I mean, guys, you said make me some spy music, guys, and this is what they came up with. Where it's not noticeable. Yeah, I guess remarkable.
In terms of presentation, like you're saying, the art direction is really weak. I mean, you're not gonna find much here. You know, I don't think we've like enemy design, character design, environment design. Like, there's just not much here because it's going for a very specific look. And I think too that I also wrote down that Tekken, just in my, I mean, like, people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I just feel like the world of Tekken is really weak and doesn't have a lot of visual or like character, like, it's just not a strong, it doesn't have a strong visual identity, we'll say.
Yes,
you know,
I can agree with that. Especially
so
because it chases realism throughout
the
entire franchise. Even though you have weird things like this old man with spiky V hair, or this guy can turn into a devil and he threw his son in a volcano, and he has a pet bear that also fights like giant robots. Like, you have all this weird stuff in the Tekken world, but it still is based in realism, and it doesn't really help out, especially when you have a game that's built on realistic situations like death by degrees, and you have to slow down that Tekken pace, and you can't just have her beat the shit out of everything that walks past. I mean, you still do that, but
so I think because of that, that's why the game sort of suffers, just on the visual and like world building level. You know what's interesting was that the game wasn't as horny as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
You know?
After the first hour, it kind of just fizzled away.
Yeah, I was like, wait a second, what?
I thought there would be a shower scene.
For sure, I thought hands down there's a couple times where she changes and there's no like lingering camera. Yeah, I was like, wait, what is going on here? They
don't even show her like taking it off, like nothing. Mm-mm. Wow,
really? Which I thought was it was really interesting. I was like, okay, what happened? Did they cut it out? It seems like this whole game was sort of based on her being like the sex appeal of her. I mean, it opens with you fighting
in a bikini.
Yeah, in a bikini, exactly. So it's just kind of like, what happened?
Yeah.
And then after that, like, you think that the game is going to be this one thing, but then it just that sort of melts away, and then it just never becomes anything else, and it just feels very
Generic.
standard. Yeah, very generic. And I was like, damn,
Very generic.
I
Yeah.
don't know what happened. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's sad because, especially like you said, the animation is pretty good, especially when you have different animations for which angle that you're fighting somebody, or which critical attack, and which body parts you choose, or if you're dual wielding guns or swords. There's a lot of love put into the animation, which I expect from the fighting game that has like move lists that scroll like a book. I expect for it to have like a lot of animations, but
That's true. That's true.
if you're coming in here expecting this to be like, wow, I didn't expect this Tekken spin-off to be such a beautiful game. Like, if they made this game today, it'll probably be like one of the greatest looking games ever because of how Tekken looks now and all the stuff that you can do now.
Right.
But for the time, even by Tekken 4 and Tekken 5 standards, it's very subpar.
I kind of went into it expecting more zaniness. Like, so I understand, like, you know, like that Tekken is more realistic. So I understood that. But I thought there was gonna be more, like, you know, that Japanese zaniness that you have in Tekken. That's sort of like, okay, that's not realistic. Clearly, like a bear fighting, you know, or learning,
or at least like the lightning when you hit somebody, like there is in Tekken or something.
Right. Yeah, like little things like that. I was kind of surprised that were absent, and yeah, so it's kind of strange to me. And then the music, well,
which is crazy because Tekken actually has pretty good music, I would say, by fighting game standards. I don't think I can remember a single song other than the annoyingly simple, normal ambiance song that comes on, and the rock song that comes on when you get into combat. But other than that, it's not it's not memorable at all. I can't name you two more songs than those songs.
I honestly, going in, I also thought it was gonna have good music for some reason. I just thought it was gonna have like some, like, you know, 2000s like electronica.
Yeah,
like,
a jungle
bangers.
track in the middle of something.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be something like that, really,
Yeah.
but there was also there was nothing there. I was like, what the fuck? This is weird. This is really weird. Like the game just doesn't excel at almost anything. It's like, but it doesn't feel like it feels like it just didn't try, almost. Like, there was a lot of money put in.
That's in a good way, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels like it didn't try in a way that it wasn't trying to be a Game of the Year title or trying to break the mold or anything like that. It felt like it was just like, interestingly enough, in Tekken 5 and Tekken 6, there is essentially Death by Degrees mode, because there was already Tekken Force and Tekken 3 and Tekken 4, which is like the beat 'em up mode. But in Tekken 5, it's completely situated for Jin. Is his name Misha? Last name Mishima? I don't know. Jin.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I wouldn't know.
The main Tekken dude.
Okay.
The whole mode is centered around him, and it's like a platformy beat 'em up kind of sort of affair. And then in Tekken 6, it's a whole story mode, like co-op beat 'em up story mode, where you have boss fights against different Tekken characters. You go and you have collectibles and side quests and all that stuff, and you travel all around the world with Tekken characters hopping in and out and interacting with you. So I can see where they took the stems of this game and improved on the side mode and future titles. But it just feels like, other than that, like, I felt like they were probably just like, hey, we're making this next one about Nita, but let's just make it into a whole game. Let's expand it up a little bit. Add some puzzles, add some guns. We'll be up.
Oh, yeah, that actually makes sense. I could see that being the case.
Especially because they're like, we don't got shit else planned for the 50th anniversary. Tales of Abyss and Death by Degrees. Give it to them.
I guess I want to say too that maybe it feels like they took ideas from some of the games that were, you know, coming out or really popular around the time, because this game also has like a lot of different elements. Like, they didn't know what kind of game they wanted it to be. It's like,
it does have a lot of Metal Gear Solid moments in there. Like, the UI is very Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, exactly. Like, did they want it to be like combat, Devil May Cry-ish type game, or a stealth game, or a, you know, like a fixed camera Resident Evil, like sort of, what is it, Castle, just like a Metroidvania kind of style game where like you're kind of exploring the same, it felt like too many ideas. I mean, and this is what I think Second Sight suffered from in some sense too, even like not being able to choose if it wanted to have fixed camera angles or if it wanted to do like the third person camera.
Right, if it wanted to be a stealthy psychic game or if it wanted to be a third person shooter. It couldn't really decide on which it wanted to do, and both suffered because of that. Yeah,
I think you can blend. I think there's obviously ways to blend a lot of those genres to where the game will be good, but it seems like they just didn't know in pre-production, like they didn't know what direction to go in, and they were like, well, let's just do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and let's just do it all poorly. Because even like, and we'll get into the gameplay later, but there are like different gameplay types or mechanics that are a little undercooked, like, we'll definitely talk about some of that stuff, but
speaking of undercooked, what did you think of the story?
This is when I realized that I wasn't into like the Tekken lore is interesting because it's cool. So zany.
It's cool as hell.
But you play this, and I was like, why is this so boring? Like, I don't even know what... I mean, first off, you don't get a good characterization of Nina, and it's her game.
Yeah, they expect you to go into this game as a Tekken fan and being like, that's Nina Williams. I don't need to know anymore. I already know that she's some secret agent girl. I don't need to have a backstory. Yeah. They do. I mean, they do try to give her a backstory with like the flashbacks to her childhood with her and her sister. But once again, you need to know Tekken lore to understand like, oh, that is her sister. Oh, right. This is what happened with her as a child. This is why they became super spies.
Yeah. It was weird because it almost felt like you were supposed to play as her partner at some point or something. Like that dude that like, what's his name, John or Alan or something?
Jack
like
or some generic ass name. Yeah.
Yeah, basically the partner that she has in the game, it feels as though like he was the main character at some point, or you were supposed to play as him and then like also Nina, but yeah, she just doesn't feel like a character in this. She just feels like
she doesn't really speak all that much either.
She doesn't say much. It's just like all it's really weird. I'm just like, I don't understand. What the fuck? So yeah, I kind of tuned out on the story, honestly. I was just like, whatever.
I'm glad that you did the same thing I did, because I was going to say, right. Please, don't ask me to explain this story to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think anybody playing this game
it's going to be like, this story is amazing. I mean,
yeah, no.
To be fair, from what the best way I could say this is that the story is like, it's like a certain era from like 2005 to like 2008 of like summer blockbuster movie vibes, where you don't really give a shit about the main character. You're just here to see stuff blow up and people fight. You don't really care about the story. Like I can name a bunch of movies like that from that era, or even another fighting game movie that came out around that time, Dead or Alive, was a lot like that. Where they didn't really explain the movie or the plot or what exactly was going on. It was just like, yeah, it's Dead or Alive. You just want to see people fighting some titties. And that's okay.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that's what this game is. Yeah, because the story doesn't have to be strong. It didn't bother me that the story, the story wasn't good. I wasn't like, oh, this is so boring. Like, I think the gameplay and just going from area to area was fine enough. But yeah, I couldn't give you a commentary on what I thought about the story at all. I mean, I think I did write that I thought it was interesting to have her first fight with Lana or Lena, whatever, on the cruise ship. It's like a mental battle.
Like, I don't know if you remember like hallucinating and stuff.
Yeah, which I thought was cool. She's protecting her younger self, and like
that's a pretty cool battle.
I was like, this is actually like kind of cool. Like, obviously, I only knew the importance of it because I watched that Tekken lore video, but I was like, this is cool, and I thought we were gonna see more like trippy kind of stuff like that, like just very inventive, and I thought we were gonna delve deeper into Nina's psychological state based off that like little fight. I was like, oh, okay, we might get into like maybe why she is the way she is or what that was about.
Maybe
And
we'll
no.
get a flashback arc or something. Nope.
Instead, we focus on, like a some sort of gas and cyborgs and everything outside of Nina. And I'm like,
Yeah. And it is strange
kinda
that they
sucks.
brought in the Jack Robot program.
right.
For those that don't know, Jack is a playable character in all of the Tekken games, but in each Tekken game, it's a new iteration of the Jack Robot. So it'll be whatever the name of whatever the number of the Tekken game is. So it'll be like Jack 6 or Jack 7,
Right.
and they'll have different movesets. Like this one will be slender, this one will be super big, this one will be crazy. And they bring on that in the later half of having the Jack Robots and having certain characters in there. But and even then, the plot, I felt like that was kind of just there as like when Heihachi shows up randomly, like, hey, it's Heihachi. Like,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
there to remind you
Little
of, like,
cameo.
by the way, this is in the Tekken world. But
Just in case you forgot, because it doesn't feel like you're in any specific world.
yeah. But I do agree that all of the main characters in the story do have their moments. Like when you first fight Bryce in that arena, very hard boss fight, but a very cool boss fight in theory,
Okay.
the way that it's structured, or even the second boss fight against Lana Lei, or all the boss fights on Enrique. If you have a sword and him slicing against yours, it's cool in that sense, especially towards the end. And that's why I say it feels like a straight to DVD, like a bootleg action movie or something of the sorts. Because even in the end, you're just like, okay, that's my cool fight. There's no stakes in this. And even after it finishes, it's just like, yep, that's it. You don't get no like epilogue to be like, my arm's in a sling, but mission complete or anything like that. You don't get anything. It's just, yo, hope you enjoyed that. And I think that's okay. So we got to break the stigma. We don't need good presentation. We don't need good story in games.
I feel like this is getting more controversial because people, especially with like the JRPG community, it's like they want the story. Like the story is like the most important thing. And I'm like, no, the gameplay mechanics, and especially when they're more in service to the story, when they can,
Right.
when you can weave gameplay mechanics into the story, things like that. But story and presentation are sort of secondary. As much as I love specific art, like directions in games, like last season we did Musashi.
It does
like,
lock you
Dirt,
into
stuff
the
like
game
that.
easier than the gameplay will. Like if it
Yeah,
has
I
a
mean-
good presentation or even good story off the rip, it can get you locked in.
Yeah.
Even let you service through shitty gameplay.
I mean, if you so much as just like the character that you're playing as, like that does a whole lot for you wanting to play the game more. So art, if you like what you're exploring, then obviously that just adds more to you wanting to play it. But this game doesn't excel in that stuff.
No, here's a deeper question for you, I guess more so, is how as a gamer, now that you're older, how do you look at games from an older standpoint, such as this game, where for me, I personally didn't care for the presentation and story. I was looking at it more from the historical standpoint of this is the only Tekken spin-off. This is the only Namco M-rated game. This is some weird Metal Gear Solid Metroidvania beat 'em up starring the blonde girl from Tekken. Let me see it through to see how weird this game could be and how cool it could be. It has a weird control scheme, weird premise. And it didn't sell. Like, I thought about it more like that than I thought of as I'm going to, because usually I try to jump into games of like, I'm just going to enjoy this game as blind as possible. I don't care what the critics say. I don't care what people say. Just going to see if this is a good game. But for this game, I kind of knew it wasn't going to wow me.
So the expectations were low.
Yeah. Do you look at games in that like kind of light when you play like older games like this?
I think when we play these types of games, especially like this game, I didn't really have too many expectations of. I knew that it wasn't liked, so I knew that there wasn't gonna be like anything gameplay wise that was gonna blow me out of the water or just blow my mind. But I think with these types of games, I definitely like looking at the technical aspect of certain things. Like, in this game, there's a couple of rooms where like the lighting of, let's say there's one specific room where I think it's in the prison, and it's like a bathroom, and like the mirror is shattered, and there's like a bunch of little details on the countertop where the sink is, and like just the way the lighting is hitting everything. Like, it's cool to see that kind of stuff, because that they were limited on the PS2, but they were able to achieve something that looks pretty realistic and really like just cool looking. So I'm always impressed by that kind of stuff. So I don't think I'm ever judging these games too harshly, or like, I think I'm always trying to come at it from like, well, they had it was a different time, a different era for games. There was different expectations,
for what they were able to do with the technology.
What they were able to do, yeah, and also what gamers, what players of games wanted, especially for a rated M game. Like, people.
I want titties, damn it.
Yeah, there was just a different appetite, like for games back then. So it was just, different. I respect a lot of what they were able to achieve, even if the execution was off. But I think I always just go into these games with that sort of mentality of like, well, what were they able to do, and what were they trying to go for, and all of that. I don't know. I enjoy going back the way we do,
Yeah.
Especially like just picking random game. To be honest with you, I don't think I had ever seen any gameplay of Death by Degree of this game. I don't think I ever, before I jumped in, I don't think I ever saw like a single, maybe a screenshot, but I don't.
Yeah, same. Until I
didn't even know
the message on Discord. That was the first, like, that screenshot I posted with the game when we announced that we were playing Death by Degrees. That was the first thing I ever saw of Death by Degrees, even though I owned it. I just bought it because I was like, oh, that's Nina Williams from Tekken. This is that Tekken game. Let me buy that.
Right.
I didn't really think about it any further of let me research that game before I buy it. Just, no, it's Tekken. I like it.
Yeah, it was sort of a blind buy, I guess. I think if it looks cool. I'm always a sucker. Like, if I get to play as a female, like as a femme fatale in a game, then I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it.
I feel you.
So I saw her on this. I'm like, oh, cool. She looks like a badass. Let's do it. I don't know. It was just like, that's a good question though. I think generally, and I think it's that's sort of why we do the show, because we kind of go back and we can really appreciate some of this stuff. I think, just to derail this for a quick second here, I think with YouTube, a lot of people make fun of games of this era. And I get it. It's funny to make fun of this kind of stuff because they're a little like wonky, or they didn't have like there wasn't a standardized way to do things too. Like,
everybody's still learning. Everybody's experimenting.
Yeah,
everybody's trying to be the new.
Yeah. It was sort of like the Wild West still, like maybe closer to the end of the Wild West, but it was still like everybody was doing different things. And so, you have a lot of YouTubers that will play a game and make fun of all this shit, but I'm like, dude, it must have been kind of hard back then to like make up something from scratch and like,
yeah,
I don't know. It was a challenge, I'm sure.
I call that the angry video game nerd trope, where some angry nerd online just grabs a game that they know isn't one of the best games ever, and they go, yeah, this game's trash. I can't believe the camera.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, but regardless of what I think of the presentation and the story of this game, how I really don't have much to say about it. It's kind of just, what I mean? And that's okay. That's okay for a game to be, but I like what they did gameplay wise, and that's what got me at least hooked to continue playing all the way through, was the gameplay. And I think that's okay. I think it's cool to have Dynasty Warriors is a great example of this. Presentation and story wise, it is ass.
Take a shot every time we mention Dynasty Warriors.
I'm trying deliberately to mention them every episode. But yeah, Dynasty Warriors and the Warriors franchise in general is pretty ass presentation and story wise. It isn't until like recently, I guess, with like Samurai Warriors 5 with like the cell shading that I was like, okay, we're trying something different. But gameplay, it keeps you locked in.
Very true. Very true. Just to pivot here real quick, I wrote down for the character of Lucas.
Don't say it.
So
bro.
he says this one thing, and I just hadn't heard it in so long. It's a very character. It was like a black character would say this in the 2000s, and it was like, "Say what?" Like, do you remember? Like he says
hell
that.
Nah.
Yeah, like
They say all that for shizzle, my nizzle.
like black characters in media would say like shit like that, right? Like it was just like a stereotype. And Lucas in this game says, "Say what?" And I was like, I forgot that niggas would say that shit on like shows and movies. It was just.
It's like,
It was
bro,
funny.
you're a scientist. You built a satellite that can
Yeah.
destroy the world, and you're talking about like,
Yeah.
oh hell no,
Why-
they got me fucked up.
Yeah, why are you talking like that? It was really interesting. I do want to add though that this game had a really cool section, or at least I thought it was kind of cool, which is the scenario where Nina is guiding Lucas through the tunnels. It's not a very, it's not super fun, and it's a little difficult and a little frustrating. But I like the whole scenario caught me by surprise. Like I was kind of impressed by it and how I was like, that'd be kind of cool. Like maybe not have more of this, but I think I just liked the
It was a good change
like
of
that
pace,
section,
especially
Yeah.
because like in other spy games, there isn't really a section where you're like, hey, escort this guy that you're trying to save. Most of the time, you save a hostage and they either die in the cutscene or they just magically get whisked away into safety. Where in this game, you had to bring him to safety. I thought that was pretty cool.
I think what I liked about it was that it is a in-game puzzle, you know, so it's not taking you to a different screen or out of the world. You're still in the game. You're looking at
Right.
the cameras and all that. You're looking at the monitors, which are in-game. They're right there. And like you're looking at a map and all that, and it just felt so, I guess, immersive, you know? Like there's chests that have those puzzles, and like a lot of games have like stuff like that that'll take you sort of out of the moment
like this is a
of the
separate
world.
game. This is just
And
a little
it's-
puzzle to do.
Right, yeah. You know, BioShock kind of has like those I don't know if you remember, but it has like those pipe puzzles where you're like trying to guide the fluid through.
Yep. And you got to
Yeah, I
build
mean,
the
those are
pipe before the fluid comes. Yeah.
Exactly, those are fun, but it also is like breaks the immersion of being in that world, right?
Right.
But like this puzzle with Nina and Lucas, I thought was really cool because it's just like she goes into that security room, and then you're like guiding him through a visible space that is just off to your like left. And
Yeah,
I
you
don't know, I
gotta
just thought
really, you gotta really look.
You
For a
gotta pay
second,
attention.
I almost pulled out a sheet of paper to like start mapping it out.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And
one of those-
honestly,
it's a very cool puzzle. I liked it.
yeah, it was good. A bit frustrating because sometimes he would like not go in the direction that. Like I think I tried it 3 times, but there were some times where I'm like, go right, and then he would go straight. He's like, okay, I'm going left. I'm like, what? Why? What? Where are you now? There were so many times that happened.
Yeah,
but
you'll
when
be
it
like,
worked,
he should be at this camera right now. If I tell him,
yeah,
to go
and he's
straight.
not.
You're like, wait a minute, but did I fuck up?
Exactly. Yeah. And I guess it just got me to think too, like, that would be kind of crazy, like, if you, like, I don't know, let's say you and me were in that situation, having to guide somebody, like, all right, dude, go left, all right, go right, where do I go? You're like, it was kind of cool. It was inventive. It was the
cool.
most inventive, yeah.
It was cool. Let's go to the cool part. Let's talk about gameplay.
The best part?
The best part. What are your thoughts on the analog controls?
I don't want to say I'm mixed. I'll say that I liked it, but I do feel like there needed to be a different way to do combos because I felt like I didn't have much control as pressing like square, triangle, left or something. You know,
Right.
like
Quarter
I felt like I
circle,
couldn't.
square.
Yeah, I felt like I couldn't do the combos that were listed easily enough for me to want to do them, and so I ended up. I mean, there's a shit ton of moves, but I never did any of them
Yeah, I
because
just did the
could
3
barely
kick
pull them
combo.
off. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
And it felt
especially
good.
'cause some of them you had to like click in the right stick and flick up, or like click in the
Yeah.
right stick, hold L1, flick back and forth, and then you'll do a spin kick and stuff. Like nobody's doing all that with the analog stick real quick. I'm just flicking, trying to survive.
Yeah, I feel like it needed to be retooled, simplified, or maybe add like a button that. I mean, I know they had like if you held L1, you would do like some more special moves, and then but yeah, it was good. I think it needed like another pass, another iteration of it. I think it actually worked beautifully, like when you're using the left analog stick to block, and then dodge, and then like the right stick to like once
Yes.
you're like flipping over an enemy and then you're attacking, like it works beautifully in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
But unfortunately, yeah, the combos that I want to do just don't. They're too hard to pull off, and so
Yeah.
you're just doing the same moves, and so it
if
gets
you
a little.
use the skill points that you got, which they don't even tell you about, and you have to
Right,
figure
yeah, they
out
don't.
by accident. If they just added more context to you flicking the right analog stick, so now it's like, oh, you have a chance to grab them with your legs and flip them behind you if you flick at an enemy this way, or
Yeah.
if they added more so that you can just continue to mash with the analog stick, I think that would have been more better than having to try to learn, especially on an analog stick, precise analog hits and flick backs
Yeah.
and forwards and timing it all correctly and double
Mm-hmm.
flicks. Like it gets to there's a lot of times where I would flick at an enemy, and because the analog stick is 360 dimensional degree rotational thing, there's no dead zones. I would flick
Right.
at the wrong, like at a person, but like just a little to the left of them and miss them and then get hit. It was a bunch of small little inconsistencies like that, but I digged it. It was fun until the end.
Yeah, it was unique for sure. I think the boss fight with Anna on the bridge where the panels are falling was really frustrating.
Yes.
And that was mainly because when you're in combat, your orientation and like which way you move sort of changes a bit. Nina starts to face the enemy automatically, and the left stick is also to guard and to dodge. So when you have these panels that are underneath you falling and you're trying to navigate out of the way, but you're also trying to like guard in the direction that she's attacked. It was just a mess.
Yeah.
And I feel like
you'll
that,
accidentally roll and land on the spot that falls
Yep.
and have to redo the whole battle. It was a bunch of, I struggled on
Yeah.
that boss fight as well.
I mean, it definitely highlighted a weakness. I feel like whoever let that level like slide, they should have been fired or something. Like, I don't know, like QA testers, I'm sure were like, what the fuck? This is so hard and like it feels unfair, and it also feels like it's not complementing the combat mechanics. Like
Right.
it feels like it's highlighting what's wrong with the combat mechanics.
But
they kept it in.
Yeah, which is very interesting to me because the final boss fight is against Anna, but instead of being on a bridge with all these falling pieces where you can instantly die, instead you're given essentially a Tekken arena to have free reign to just straight hand-to-hand fight. You can't use weapons, you can't use guns, and it's the most fun final boss fight I've ever fought in a video game, and let alone one of the most fun boss fights I've ever fought in a game. But I don't know if that's because it just went back to being essentially a fighting game, but just with weird analog controls, or if just the whole premise and the idea of being a little kung fu movie and this is your final fight in the kung fu movie. I don't know. But I mean, yeah, because to be fair, the rest of the bosses were not fun. The robot boss fight was not fun. Bryce in that weird circular arena with the spikes was not fun. Lana was it was interesting, Lana's fight. Both of her fights with the hallucination and the zombies and stuff like that. But until I realized that I have to attack Lana wherever she was on the map, it was a very confusing and disorienting boss fight, and I didn't really like it at first. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it does what it has to do. For the combat system being as weird as it is pretty fun, and it does grow on you after a while. Even in the final hours, when you start studying the combo sheets and getting full upgrades and like, okay, my melee weapons can do this and they can instantly kill by doing this. They were pretty cool. I enjoyed it. Did you deal with the critical arts a lot?
Yeah. I used the I think I probably engaged with the critical arts. I mean, the most. Even though it's interesting. So the critical arts, for anybody who hasn't played, basically it's like your special move. There's a bar that you build up, and you can target a specific body part and do like big damage, and it does like the whole Mortal Kombat, like X-ray bones bursting, or heart stopping kind of like X-ray look. Yeah, I used it a lot. It was a little underwhelming to me sometimes because, for one, it didn't disable them, so you could fucking break their femur and then they would still be moving around.
They
And I'm
would
like,
just
what
hold
the
your
fuck?
arm and then get back up and be like, all right, I'm back to
Yeah.
fighting. Like, what?
Or like shatter their head, like skull. Like, I'm just like, why are you? Why aren't you dead? I don't understand.
You're getting
It's
up and
weird.
calling back up? I just killed
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, or I felt like at the very least, if they had like 75% less health or something, or 75% health or less, then it should have been like an instant death,
Yes.
But it wasn't. So sometimes, I would have to wait to knock their health down a little bit before I used it. I do wish also that you could target multiple enemies at once, as opposed to hitting just 3 spots on one enemy.
Right. Yeah. If you could hit like just have the whole people in front
The
of you.
yeah. Which I thought was the case for a while. I'm like, how do I aim at other people? Like, I don't understand.
Oh,
'Cause,
yeah,
like,
you're thinking like I can turn around and I can hit
Yeah.
him and hit him.
Yeah, but nah, it wasn't. I was like, oh, okay. What's interesting is that the game's difficulty, and this is true of that, just like the PS2 era, the game's difficulty is sort of a problem because, I mean, just like we're talking about with the combo system, it would have helped if there was like button prompts as you're attacking, like of what combo string you can take advantage of next. Kind of like
Or-
a QTE, but not like
Yeah.
just showing you like, hey, you can, if you press right or like left on the joystick or whatever, now you'll do this combo or something, and then
Or
you can turn
even if
that
they
off
had
later.
like an electric finish to let you know like, oh, you did a specific combo, or if you
Yeah.
had like the name of the combo pop up, they'd be like, yeah, you activated this combo.
Yep, some sort of like some feedback in that way would have actually, yeah, that's smart. Also,
Yeah.
it would have been nice if they had like a dojo or test arena where you could practice combos, because you're practicing those combos on live enemies, and they're sometimes you couldn't afford to get hit all this amount of time, and just I
Yeah,
don't know.
try it out.
That'd
Or
have
even
been
if they
nice.
had like a little video, like I know like Devil May Cry and all that, they'll have
Oh, yeah.
like little small videos to show you the move before you use it. So you can at least be like, okay, I know the
I
buttons.
want this.
This is how it
Right.
works. Yeah.
Right,
You can see it before
definitely.
it goes in.
Yeah, that would have been super helpful. I think something that this game also really, I think what really does this game in is the fact that it's so slow.
Yes.
You got slow fade outs, fade ins. You got a lot of cutscenes, now loading
long
signs.
loading screens.
Yeah, it's insane. And then the menu itself, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, is so slow and just borderline unreadable sometimes, because you're just like, where
Where do I go? What do I? What,
Yeah, where do I-
do? Yeah.
It's not readable. Like, you go into like, okay, if you're trying to look at your objectives, you would expect it maybe to be on the first page.
Or have an objective screen or mission
Right.
briefing screen. No, you have to go in your documents into Nina's
Mm-hmm.
journal, and that will pull up the mission briefing. Like, who's gonna know that? Like, oh yeah, I need to go to Nina's journal to figure out what I was doing.
It was exceptionally slow. Pressing square opens the map up. It's super slow.
Yeah,
And
and I kept fucking up during combat, thinking like, oh, press square to attack. Oh no, the map
it's that Dynasty Warriors brain right there.
comes out of you, man.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that's what really killed the game for me, was that. Because otherwise it'd be like a solid, I don't know, like, to give it a grade, it'd be like a C+. Like a,
Yeah.
pretty average, fun little game. Especially, I could see on a replay, once you get like, the infinite handgun ammo and all that, kind of stuff, I could see it being pretty fun as you're like maybe going on harder difficulties. But the slowness of it really took its toll on me.
Yes. I will say,
I want to say,
by the time I got to the prison, I was kind of checked out of the game, especially because
it's like halfway through, or is it halfway through? Yeah,
it's about halfway through. Because like the Metroidvanian approach of how you like have to find the key card and have to find a specific fingerprint to open up this door that leads to here, it leads to a lot of backtracking that felt unnecessary. And once again, along with the presentation being poor with the camera cuts or all the loading screens between doors or loading screens to get to the pause menu, to get to the map, to look at everything, it slows the game down, especially because you're just trying to find what to do, where to go, how do I progress? And you're like, okay, it slowly eats at you as you play. Because at first I was excited. I was playing like, wow, man, I actually like this. This is cool. And by the time I got to the prison, I was like, oh, we got another half of... Like, when it went back to the cruise ship, I was like, oh, no. Fuck.
It's basically, what is it called? Death by 1,000 cuts, you know? Like, this game has so many little things that are just like, okay, that's not a problem. But then stacked on top of other things, it's just like, this experience is sort of getting on my nerves. Like, it's just becoming too much, you know? I did think, though, that would you have liked the game a bit more if it was only on the cruise ship? If they didn't go anywhere else?
Yes, okay. I probably would have. Because I like the approach of slowly getting, like, once you get the red key card, you can go through these red doors. And I like that slowly building and finding the secret facilities and stuff when you were in the cruise ship. And then when you got to the prison, I was kind of like, okay, that's a cool change of pace. But now I'm essentially in a second area of this. And it kind of made me lose that same feeling that I had. Yeah. Because on the cruise ship, I was like, okay, I have this fingerprint. If I go back to this room, it'll probably have a shotgun in this locker with this fingerprint. Or I can go here now. But now it's like I was starting to map the cruise ship. And then they took the cruise ship away from me.
Yes. That's exactly what I was going to bring up. I forgot the cruise ship
by the time I got back to it. I was like, hold on, where the fuck do I go? Because you're not even going to the same areas anymore. You're going to completely new areas in the cruise ship that you couldn't get to before. But I'm like, how the fuck do I get there in the first place? Because I forgot how to fucking go through this cruise ship. I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah, no, that was my issue too. I think that it would have been smart for them to... Because, I mean, as players, it's nice to be able... With this type of game, it would have been nice to be able to get familiar with the cruise ship and then know where everything is at, you know, and then slowly start unlocking new areas, new secret areas. And it was also the most interesting because, like, it had a bunch of interesting relative to this game. It had some, like, interesting rooms and, like, you know, like, just really unique stuff, right? Because it's a massive, like, ship, like, from this billionaire company or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, when they take it away preemptively, you know, I remember feeling like, wait, I'm not done here. We're already moving somewhere else.
Yeah, there's unopened doors. I need to figure out where they went. What is in there? There might have been some upgrades or something.
Yeah, and they take you to the most brown, gray, boring place ever. One that I didn't want to explore at all, you know, and you're there for way longer than you need to be, which I feel like destroys the pacing. It's the worst part of the game, I would say. And then you go back to the cruise ship, but then by that point you're just like, I'm not even interested in this goddamn cruise.
Yeah. And then they change the enemies. That's especially right then. They have a huge difficulty spike as soon as you get back to the cruise ship. And they're like, hey, that one robot that you just fought as a boss, that's a normal enemy, and you have to fight 5 of those now. And they're tanky. You can't just hit them with fists. You got to have weapons, but you can't just shoot them because they're resistant to bullets. It makes every single fight like, oh, this is life or death. And mind you, there's not a quick heal button. So anytime you need to heal in this game, you got to pause, wait for that long-ass loading, slow-ass menu, click the button to heal up, click it down. And by the time you click it down, you're probably getting hit again. So, yeah, and I feel like this game... God, I would just love... It is kind of cool playing some of these older games because you can just dream of, like, what if you could play this on the PS5 or something? What if I gave him $100 million more and like 3 more years of development time? This would be the greatest game ever.
obviously this is not going to be remade. There's just no way, right? But like,
Right.
you can just dream like, wow, this game was killed by maybe just like a lack of optimization. You know, there are faster games than PS2 that are like this. Like this game going from one small room and a loading screen to another. Like, come on, what are we loading here exactly? What's the technical?
I've played
issue?
other PlayStation 2 games that have done way crazier in between loading and pause screens. Like it doesn't need to be this complicated.
Yeah, and clearly maybe it was just. What do we know about the team that developed this? Were they the same Tekken?
This is the exact same Tekken team. All the same people that made Tekken made this game.
So yeah, it was clear that they didn't have the experience. It feels
Right.
like the work of inexperienced people, at least with this genre. Obviously, they're masters at their craft with fighting games. But you take this team and you try to repurpose them into making a game that's it's Resident Evil essentially, and Devil May Cry combined, and they're just like we're not doing great at this, So it could use a sequel. It could use some refine. I think some refinement would make this a really interesting, fun.
Yeah, like if they took another go at it, if they did it again, I think they might have hit it out the park if they did it again for like PlayStation 3.
I think so. I think so too. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think maybe we're giving them too much credit, but
maybe. I had to think about it as well too because I was like, wait a minute, because there's Soul Calibur Legends, which is the other bad spinoff based on a fighting game by Namco. And I was like, was that
that's a Wii title, right?
Yeah. And it was made by the exact same team that made Soul Calibur. So, yeah, once again, the team isn't good at making not fighting games. So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, they should have maybe handed it off to someone else to develop.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who Bandai. Or wait, is it Namco that owns Tekken, right?
Yeah,
Before they
it's
merged.
the same team that made... Well, I mean, they said it's Studio One, which is the same studio that makes Tekken, Soul Calibur, and the Ace Combat series. And they also made God Eater.
They make Ace Combat? That's interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, they have the team. Like, I guess they have more than one genre. They did Code Vein, they did God Eater, they did Pokken Tournament.
Yeah, but those are later on though.
Yeah, I guess more so. This probably would have been better if it wouldn't have been better if it was given to like if it was given to like the Tails team or like the other team that normally handles like outsourced work like with Nintendo. It probably it wouldn't have hit.
Yeah, that is interesting. What did you think about the leveling? The fact that leveling in this was included. What did you think about how it was implemented and all that?
Not gonna lie to you, I could have done without it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, absolutely.
It might be one of the first earliest instances of a leveling system in the game unnecessarily being there. Like nowadays, every game has an unnecessarily leveling system. Like I could play Agents of Mayhem and it'll have an arbitrary leveling system with a skill tree and all this extra shit. But I guess it was cool at least that you could use those points. It wasn't like you were. I guess you were leveling up because your health was increasing and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was getting
Yeah, you were getting statistical bonuses for it.
I think it was a cheap way for them to get sort of the perks of leveling up. Like as far as game design, I feel like they could have. Well, okay, so think about it.
Give you like cash or something like that. I mean, like now you have like $6,000. You can spend that on an upgrade.
Or so like how you're picking up holsters that increase your capacity to carry specific melee or firearms.
Right.
They could have done like a Zelda style, like, oh, you found a heart or you found this, so now your health is 25% larger or whatever. Your
you picked up the scroll of critical art level 3.
So they could have done that, and then also I was thinking about what alternative could they have used instead of the skill points to buy combos, because that whole system is just flawed just because you don't need any of those combos to begin with.
Yeah.
You can play the whole game without spending any, like,
There's not a single combo that is like, this is a game changer.
I need this. Yeah. There was the headshot upgrade and then the melee efficiency that allows your melee weapons to last longer before they break. Those are the only two things I was like gunning for.
The same.
I mean, I bought some other combos, but I never used them, and so just ultimately that system was flawed. But I was trying to brainstorm on what would have been an alternative. Like, I've always been a fan of the system where it's like as you're playing the game, you might you accidentally discover a combo. So let's say like you're doing, you're flicking the left stick, and then it's like, oh, you just unlocked a combo, and you get a little like thing above your character that says new combo. You're just like, oh shit, cool. What was and then you like.
Oh yeah,
I always been a fan of that kind of
encyclopedia. That would have been more cool, especially because you're already just button mashing and flicking. You're flicking it anyway. You might as well just be like, oh, you did some cool shit, because that's how it really was. I would unlock these combos, and then I would just be flicking just to hit every enemy, and then I would magically do like a jujitsu flip or a parry, and be like, oh, guess that was a combo. Yeah.
I think it also could have been, so you know how you were able to flip through your melee weapons and your firearms and your combat stance?
Yeah.
I think under combat stance, you should have been able to pick like a number of preset combos that you could just activate by pressing L1. You know what I mean? Or
I feel you.
Yeah, like just like, okay, so this is my...
Yeah, you press L1 and flick it, and then it will auto-activate that combo towards that person. Because it kind of does have one of those moves like that, where it's like you hold L1 and L2, and it does her actual string from Tekken, but it's like locked in. Like as soon as you hit it, it would just do the 10-hit combo, and it'll be stuck in that direction. It'll probably make gameplay feel bad. Now that we say it, it probably make gameplay feel bad. Because if I was trying to use combos and I kept missing and having to watch me do the full combo and get hit by the boss or something, I'd probably quit this game.
Yeah. Well, I think a better lock-on system too. Maybe like, holding L2 to lock onto the enemy you want to.
Because you did see that lock-on system a little bit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
When you used it like third-person camera, you can sometimes lock on to people there and have it, but yeah,
it's funky.
Yeah, it doesn't really always work.
Yeah. What'd you think about the? So this game sort of has a gameplay loop. You have your normal moving around, exploration, and combat, and then you have sniper mode, which is treated as its own separate sort of mini game. What'd you think about that?
I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the mini games in this game were pretty bad. The sniping mini game, it was like a weird pseudo time crisis. Which makes sense because I mean you have some of the time crisis people on like the team, so it makes sense that it would play kind of sort of like that. But it was not fun to snipe because it was so many enemies, and there's always like that one guy that you're protecting, and he's like, "I need help over here. What are you doing, Nina?" And
what are you? Yeah, I'm like, what?
Bro, I'm trying to shoot at 7 people. I don't even know where you are. I'm getting shot. I don't know what's going on. This sniper sucks. Gotta shoot like 6 times to kill somebody. Shit is ass.
Yeah. It didn't feel good at all. It didn't feel responsive. It didn't feel like you were actually sniping. It just felt like
you had like an assault rifle and you just shooting.
Like it didn't feel right. The sound design on it was off. You know, like when you reload, like there's no sound for the reload, so
there was no recoil when you really shot that made it feel like a sniper.
Oh, real quick, do you use a PS2, like an original PS2 controller? Or do you have like an off-brand?
I got off-brands.
Okay.
I do have them, but they're just, my L1 button is one. I got one of those like official ones, but my L1 button is like caved in.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, so if I press L1 too hard, it'll like, and I'll be like, oh shit, I can't press L1 no more.
The vibration on the controller
is insane.
At points was so strong. I was like,
it was the same way even on the knockoffs. It was like, I'm like, bro, cool it. Like,
it's so powerful, and they didn't even use it for when you're sniping, and I'm like,
that's the perfect time to use it. I guess that would have been great. You up, I guess I don't know.
Maybe, but like it would have. I mean, it's maybe, but it's. Well, forget about it. There's nothing more to say about the fucking sniping mode. It's there, and it's whatever.
I did like the drone though. The drone felt fun when you control. I liked playing as a drone, like the 2 or 3 times that you did use it throughout the game.
Stingray, yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was cool. I wish it was utilized more. Well, nah, because if it was utilized more, it probably would have overstayed its welcome. I would have been like, man, them Stingray sections. There's too many Stingray sections. Yeah. So
There's this. Yeah, the Stingray was fine. Yeah, I do feel like the controls were a bit weird, but I feel like it sort of wrestled control away from you sometimes when it's like, all right, you're done here. You just needed to move it to the spot, and now it's an animation playing out or a cutscene.
Right.
But I feel like it would have been cool to like, oh, let me grab these keys off this and carry it over
all
to
the way back.
Like, yeah, or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
or even like when you have to bring it on to spy on the meeting, if I was still giving me control and I had to aim it to where the camera was staring at them, they like get the
exactly.
and stuff.
But it takes the control away from you at that point. It's a cutscene. It's like, oh, okay,
Cool.
fine.
I guess.
All right. Yeah, I guess I didn't want to play anyways. And then what did you think about the swimming? Because swimming at this point in time,
there is swimming in this game. I forgot.
yeah, swimming at this point in video games was
ass. There wasn't really swimming in games. So when you did swim, you swam like this game. Or it's weird. It goes into first person when you dive. That's pretty weird. But
oh my god, the fact that there's a
loading screen to go into first person. Like, why?
Oh, to come up for air. So basically, if you dive, it transitions into first person. There's a fade to black, and then it, and then if you want to go up for air, oh god, it made it so like brutal. It was insane.
Yes, especially in the underwater section that you have for a long time in the prison. It's like a pretty percent. But luckily, they give you a little water suit, so you don't have to do it all like that. But yeah, it was pretty ass. Same with the puzzles. What did you think of the puzzles? I thought they were ass.
I don't know if I'm too dumb for those, but I was like, I just can't do this. This like sort of, I just could not figure it out. So I just used a guide for all of them. I was like, I'm not going to sit here and do
I'm the same way.
All.
I think I did like the first like couple small ones, and then I did like the first medium one, and then when they showed me the first large one, I was like, yep, no,
yeah,
give me the guide now because I'm not about to do all this.
Puzzle. Yeah. And it was worse.
Oh man.
It was worse when you did finally unlock it and it's like, oh, you have too many weapons to carry. And you're like, I just spent 15, 20 minutes on this puzzle and I can't even fucking use what's in it.
Yeah.
So.
I feel you on that. But there was a couple other puzzles that were pretty cool towards the later half. Like there was a puzzle where you had to read the intel to get to specific times and then put those times using both analog sticks to control like the big hand and small hand so that you can defuse the bomb. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. There was another one where you had to read the lore and go into the morgue and look at the dead bodies to figure out which executives to put in for the passcode for a door. I thought that was pretty cool. I guess every puzzle where I didn't have to do that dumbass numbers thing was pretty cool.
Have you ever played the game? There's a 007 game that this game really like called to mind. I think it's called Everything or Nothing.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's a third person one.
Yes.
Where it wasn't based on a movie. It was just like a weird third person James Bond game.
Okay, so this game, I haven't played it since I was a kid, but even when I was a kid, I was super impressed by this game. We might have to put it on both.
Might have to put it on a list.
But it was a like very popular game as well. It was probably it was like the PlayStation hits or like the
Platinum
Player's Choice. Yeah. Because it was really good. And it had a lot of like these gadgets that you used as James Bond. I feel like this game did a lot of what I guess we'll call Death by Degrees is trying to do the spy fantasy, right? They have all the gadgets. It has the, political espionage, the intrigue. It's trying to be like a spy.
The weird terrorist organization that's threatening to destroy the world, all that. Yep, it's got it all.
And I feel like the Everything or Nothing 007 game really did the gadgets right. It had a lot of variation in gameplay. I remember like it just being
Gunplay was
very
good.
impressive. Yeah, it was
Using your
so
hands was good. They had a pretty cool co. I've only really played that game co-op. Like me and Dev, we will play. When I first got a GameCube, that was one of the first games I got, and we tried our hardest to beat that first level of the co-op mode, and we could
Is it
not
co-op?
do it. Yeah, there is a co-op mode. I do remember that as a kid, and same thing as a kid, I could not beat that first level. Like, I would just play through and be like, I think we're close to the end of the first level. I don't know, but we gotta keep going, and
Right,
never
right.
being able to beat it. Especially because you have like a finite amount of lives. Being a kid, not being able to coordinate with people, and being like, take your fucking time, kiddo. But you know,
Yeah, no, I feel that. But anyways, yeah, I did feel like this game really called to mind how good that game was because of how mediocre or undercooked so many of this spy game was. Just was.
Yeah.
But
overall, though, did you enjoy the game? Overall, like, would you recommend people to play this game? Don't do that. No.
no, but I did enjoy the game, and I think that if you really are like a collector like us,
You'll probably
like
own this game already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. It's a good game. This is a good game to play and like not finish. Like this is like a like just a game that you have and like I played it but I never finished it, and it's just like you don't need to because it's just like
I get it.
it's just because especially after you get to the prison, it's like downhill from there.
Yeah.
Aside from like the boss fight that you think is great,
But that's what I'm saying. The final boss is literally an arena to just fight, and that's okay because there's a one-on-one fight, no gimmicks, no bullshit, no exploding, no spikes, no zombies, just hookage.
I think this game really needed a mode where you can just play as Anna or Nina, and you pick them in a bikini or whatever fucking costume you want, and then you just fight like waves and waves, like or something, some sort of like Coliseum mode, something like that.
Yeah,
it's shocking that they put a sniper mode
and a stingray mode, but not a survival mode.
It's fucking a huge missed opportunity, and I feel like maybe the game would have had a better legacy, maybe had it. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
or like
not.
a co-op mode, or I don't know. I do recommend it for its novelty.
Well, okay. What would you say? Oh, well, like for the novelty of the combat system, you're saying?
Yeah, for the novelty of the combat system, the fact that like, because we can both agree that until you get to the prison, it is a pretty interesting game. Regardless, flaws aside, it is still like, okay, this is interesting. I like where this is going. Let me see where it continues to go. Unfortunately, it takes a quick little dive. It goes down the ski lift and an avalanche, but I thought it was nice, and I would still recommend it. Not just because of that final boss fight. That might have just been Tekken fanboy biases coming out of me a little bit, being like, "Oh, that was cool as hell," but like, I don't know if you're not familiar with Tekken, if you would be like, "Oh, that's cool." Because even in New Game Plus, this is a cool thing that happens. So in New Game Plus, instead of fighting Anna, when you're about to fight Anna at the final boss, Heihachi comes out and punches the shit out of her, and then you have to fight Heihachi instead of her.
Okay, yeah. So it's like a Tekken.
Yeah, it's a Tekken game.
Yeah, or I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's for Tekken fans.
Yeah, especially because right before you fight Anna, they give you Yoshimitsu's sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's for Tekken fans.
There's another game that has this analog. What is it called? This analog controls
combat.
Yeah. Do you know which game it is?
No, I'm confused. What game is this?
It's Jet Li's The One.
The Jet Li game has the analog controls like this?
Mm-hmm. I think it's called Rise to Honor.
Oh, the Jetly Rise of Honor. Okay.
I think, yes. Player using the right analog stick to direct blows at enemies, similar to the Xbox game Star Wars Obi-Wan. So Star Wars Obi-Wan on the Xbox also has analog combat. Yes, I remember actually being pretty good, but maybe I came out 2004. I was young, didn't really know. But yeah, I don't think I could recommend it unless the person. Yeah, it would depend on the person. Generally, I don't think I could tell someone like you have to pick this up. I recommend it strongly.
Yeah. If you're already a collector of PlayStation 2 games and you
exactly, you
have
probably
a
already
fancy
have it.
for Tekken.
Because I mean, for me, the only reason that I liked it was because, you're playing as a femme fatale for one, and it looked like it had fixed camera angles, which is cool. So I was going like, oh, this might be like a Resident Evil, Silent Hill 2 without the horror, aspect.
Yeah, I get
So
to
I
beat
thought
up
that was
whatever
cool.
comes in front of me. It'd be cool.
Yeah, so I was like, this might be cool. Ultimately, I think it tries to be a lot of different things and doesn't do. It misses a lot of opportunities, and it also misses some of its execution. It's crazy that it was Game Informer's what would you say top?
It was his
Worst?
10th worst game of 2005. Which is crazy.
Do we have anything else to say about?
Buy it. Buy it. If you got a PlayStation 2, if you're a collector, buy it.
How much?
It is great question.
Check eBay.
Before I say that, and it'd be like $40, and I'd be like, it's not $40. I can tell you that.
If you see it for under 20,
yeah, exactly. If you see it for under $20, complete in box, go for it. It's going around averaging, but I'm seeing conflicting
conflicting news.
Like I'm seeing some for $20, $25, and I'm seeing some for $50. I'm seeing some for $12. I'm seeing some for $64. It's one of those games, I guess, that the scalpers are trying to test the market, I guess, to see
right
what people are idiotic enough to buy it for.
Don't buy it for more than 25.
Yes, don't buy it for more than 25. If you can catch it for under $20, or if you can catch it in a lot or something of the sorts like that, why not? It's a great PlayStation 2 collector's game that you can have. It's interesting. It's cool. You can crack open a few beers, have some fun with it. It's one. There needs to be an appreciation, and I think we've come to appreciate this and being older. There's games that you can appreciate playing it for one sitting and being like, that was fun. I don't need to see it through. Yeah,
especially since we don't have the time sometimes, so it's just like I think a lot of collectors like you and me, we have a lot of games. I love just going to a store, buying, let's say 3 or 4 games, whatever looks cool, coming back home, popping it in for an hour or two, be like, cool, all right, and try the next thing, and like just never touch it again.
Yes, that was me as a kid. That's how I first got my PlayStation 2, and again, that's when I first started collecting, was in 9th grade, right before the Wii U came out. And that's exactly how I found out about Persona 3, Atelier, Drakengard. I bought all of those games at the same time, and I was just like, okay, Persona's got a little bit of meat in it. I'll play this later. Let's go put in Ratchet and Clank, and then let's put in Altair. Let's put in all this. Let's just see what's going on next. It's a lost art, especially with the digital and the guides and all the extra stuff that we have now. Everybody feels like they have to complete the game that they play, like Crisis Core. I beat it. I regret it. Soured my whole experience of playing it. I was like,
that's wild.
I was better off just playing the first hour and being like, yeah, that was cool. Anyway, I'll just play Final Fantasy VII Remake 2.
Yeah, that's definitely a PSP game for sure.
Yes.
For sure. You know what we need to play? I think we have it on there. On our list. Is Type 0? Do we have that on there?
Yes, we have Type 0. We have Type 0 on the list.
Yeah, we'll get to that sometime.
There's like 3 Final Fantasies. There's Dissidia, which we're about to play. Type 0.
Okay.
And I think I think I was like this close to adding 13. And then I was like, nah.
Final Fantasy 13?
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels like we have to wait a little bit for that one or something.
Yeah.
Like it'd
not
be like
yet.
seasons. Yeah, not yet.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize I actually did have everything or nothing already on the list. I didn't
Oh,
realize.
maybe we had already talked about it. Very solid
Yeah.
episode, I think. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for watching.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you give us positive feedback or negative feedback. Let us know what you think about Death by Degrees. And also, join our Discord, where we talk a lot about random shit, but we have channels in there for every game that we cover. You know, so that's really cool. Everybody in there is really friendly. And if, you know, you can also tell us about games that you're playing that you might have picked up. That's always fun. Every once in a while, we'll do a hangout, I guess. Me and Sondi will get up in there and do something. Anybody can join. Yeah, we just...
Everybody just hops
Exactly.
in. It's chill. Start playing a game together. Or we're playing all separately. It's like the other day we were playing Monster Hunter together. It's fun. And you can also play all of the other games for Season 4, such as the next game, Dark Sector, or any of the other games like Dissidia or Dragon's Dogma that we'll be playing in the future. If you don't necessarily want to play the next game, we have other games, as well as the past games that you could talk about in our Discord. We try to market this as I'm trying to market this, I guess. Let me rephrase that. As a gaming book club, because I want more people to play along with us. I enjoyed that other people picked up Death by Degrees and they started playing it as well with us, and they get to experience it as well. So when the Back of the Rack Awards comes out, they not just saying No More Heroes for No More Heroes because it's all they played. They can be like, I've played everything.
Right,
I know
exactly,
Death by Degrees is
yeah.
bad.
Plus,
I'm not
I
gonna
do love
choose
hearing
that.
everybody else's takes on games that we're playing too, because I guess that's, you know, part of what a gaming book club would do anyways. But
yeah, it recontextualizes it a little bit for us, because there might be certain things that we have missed that you guys might have picked up on. I noticed that a lot with especially the Warriors of Orochi video, where people were like sending paragraphs to us like, oh yeah, by the way, this part. And
exactly.
I'm like, oh, I
Plus we only have so
forgot
much
about that part.
time to like play the game and all this, so exactly, we can't be here for 3 hours talking about every little detail, but yeah, just whatever you guys can think of, you know, sound off in the comments, and we really appreciate that. We will see you in the next episode for Dark Sector, right?
Yeah.
Or Dark Sector.
Unless you switch it up. It's like, nah.
No. I didn't know. Okay.